I just came on here to do something.
It shows us as being active on YouTube.
Excellent.
And our dirt.
Yes.
And if there's anything I can do.
Oh, I don't need anything. Happy days.
So let me tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
I volunteered at a cable access.
And we are live again.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Unmuted.
Yeah.
I worked at a cable. I was talking to the cameraman about this. I worked at a cable access station when I was in 9th grade. Probably saved my life.
Wow.
I was depressed. I didn't have any friends because we moved up here. And my mom, who is awesome, went and found out about this class because Keith's always wanted to make movies. Just put me in it.
Grace wants to do that too.
Yeah.
I don't know how to teach her.
So I became a cable access producer. And that's actually still active and great. So that would be a good resource for you. They taught me how to use a camera. They taught me all the camera commands, tilt, pan, zoom, draw. Then they taught me editing. But I learned how to edit on 1/2-inch and 3/4 inch video tape. I was probably one of the last kids in the world to learn video editing on tape. And I took a drafting class on a drafting table.
Wow.
No computer in the classroom.
Wow.
So both of those things, probably the generation, the year after me, they were like, what is it? Here's your computer.
Yeah.
But I did also take a computer editing class
Nice.
using Final Cut Pro,
Mm-hmm.
and I used Premiere on my own. So I'm
Okay.
familiar with both. Both have changed
Mm-hmm.
in the 10 years
Sure.
since I've done it.
Yeah.
So I would need to update my skills.
Love that.
But I know the basics, and I know to do L cuts, and I know to do, So, yeah, we should talk. That may be
I love that. Okay, we found out.
We had some people tune in, and we were ignoring them.
Oh, hello.
They came in just to watch Molly on her.
I'm working on the Eloise and Sarah clip.
Everybody, we are I'm going to go in. I'm on the stage. We are sitting right across from each other.
Yeah.
And we wear so many hats at one time.
Actually, I really like hats.
They're invisible right now, but they're there.
And so Molly is posting, please, or support. And if you could share the live stream to your page, tell people to tune in. We're going to be interviewing author Aaron Carnes here in about 40 minutes. I can't wait. This is live on YouTube as well. It's on YouTube and Facebook.
send people our way. And you can donate at Sacramento, or you go to bigdavegiving.org and look for Sacramento Kindness Campaign. We have funds matching right now too. Still, we just got a $50 donation.
Cockerham just donated $50.
Did he hear us talking about it?
Everything you need to do the dance.
It's happy dance time.
Yes, okay. So we just got a donation.
If I knew Rob had that kind of money, I would have been nicer to him.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. I would have been very nice to Rob. Rob Cockerham, I went to Cockeye.com. We did this ridiculous thing where we all got in line for a drive-in, and then pretended we were racing. We just drove around the Carl's Jr. There was a guy with a checkered flag and everything. It was absolutely ludicrous. And very Rob.
Yeah. So fun.
Okay, so yeah, so we have donation matching. So Rob Cockerham just donated $50, which means we get $100.
And so there's my personal, that, and I think he gets matched by whatever else.
Oh, because this was through yours.
Actually gets like triple day,
Okay.
something like that.
Things are getting out of control.
Yeah.
There's multiple matches.
There's other matches that are on the overall.
Hers matches it, and then the overall matches
Oh,
the match.
nice.
I'm going to change my name because I'm still in as Sarah.
Well, you look great, Sarah. Have you
Thank
done
you.
something different with your hair?
You know, I hear I'm eye candy.
Well, that's true. That's
My
true.
wife's never going to hear the
But
end of that.
also, yeah, also you haven't changed a bit in 30 years.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you look great.
Thanks.
But I would hope you changed a bit in 30 years.
No,
That-
I have not.
That would be weird.
I mean, pre-children, pre-gray hair, pre-wrinkles, I look exactly the same. So just in case you were wondering.
Okay, so I'm going to put my title as OEC, and then in parentheses, I'll put what that is.
Yeah, so at the shoeboxes, just multiple shoeboxes. And like put stuff into the bag. Anything on the area. Oh no.
My knee just on the table like a good hearty table like it is.
No,
Oh,
I
man.
did order ice cream cake.
Okay, so I am going to add our $1,000 donor in.
It goes so fast. I asked them if
Let's
they
see.
could and they said yes. So that's like, I feel like as long as we have cake. I know, but they're gonna.
Listen.
There's gonna be at least something to eat, and so I really wanted to bring cake.
Everyone come to Old Spaghetti Factory on Watt Avenue tonight. Blow away our expectations of how many people will be there. I'm going to perform a comedy set. There's going to be live trivia. There are appetizers we're going to put out. You can also order your own food while you're there if you want to come for dinner. There's ice cream cake. I mean, it's going to be out of control. This is going to be something special.
It's Baskin Robbins ice
special.
cream cake too, like the best
Oh,
ice
man.
cream cake.
Baskin Robbins ice cream
So-
cake.
We got two because we have a very special friend who is allergic to the food guy and wanted to make sure that we would have enough. So we have one that is specially ordered because our executive director really likes cotton candy flavored ice cream. So we did get one with cotton candy flavored ice cream. The other one says cotton candy ice cream with white cake and this really yummy whipped cream frosting, which I could just eat a bowl of that. And then we also got a cookies and cream with chocolate cake for those who might have a food dye allergy. So
Should we bring the hot sauce in case people want to do the hot sauce ice cream challenge? Do you know about the hot sauce ice cream challenge?
please tell us.
It's a thing I just made up. Where you take ice cream and you put the hot sauce on it, and it's delicious.
I love
The
it.
creamy cold, the saucy hot. It's just much that kiss.
I think you're actually selling this fairly well.
You're gonna try it?
I think
How big is the donation?
right.
To me,
Or-
this whole exercise is just an excuse to try to torture poor Molly. How much do you pour milk over the bugs?
I'm imminently torturable.
How much hot sauce your ice cream?
That's a great word. You're torturable.
I'm
Torturable.
Uh-huh.
And I'm torturably.
Big Dave giving. Okay, I am adding.
So you can tell Cockerham if he wants to come in the live stream, I will gladly interview him.
Oh,
I love that guy. We are old friends, but I actually talked to his the mother of his kiddos more than him lately, because her wife actually works with what's it called? Not mustard seed. What's the name of it? But what's the bigger organization? Loaves and Fishes. That's what I was trying to think of.
Nice.
And at Uptown Studios, we would do water drives and soft drives with them. So,
Yeah.
which was always fun.
Speaking of friends, when I was on your page, something on your page, I noticed that we have a friend in common. It was Alan Schultz.
Wish that I could tell you. Oh, Alan! Who that is?
Oh, well, he's on your page. At
I have a
least.
lot of friends.
So we have a
that's modern world.
Facebook friend in common. at
Well, let me
least.
look. Maybe
He's,
I do
he's
know
an
him.
acting teacher and director in Folsom with Sutter Street Theater, and he does a lot of kids production. I think he's the director of the children's theater, and he also was my daughter's acting teacher for a couple of years until she decided that she was too awkward to pursue that further.
So Eloise may have been asking a rhetorical question here, but she just said, do you guys want any snacks or anything?
There's some toast and jam here.
There's toast and jam.
If I don't eat, I'll die. If I don't eat, I'll die.
Yeah, and that's Eloise's mom's homemade sourdough bread that she made herself.
What?
I have this thing where I need air, food, and water,
You're not a breatharian.
or I die.
Are they,
I don't think I've heard of that. Oh, and sleep.
Okay, so
But I'm skipping that one. I'm not going to skip the others.
shortly. Have you heard of the breatharians or breatharians? I don't know how you pronounce it because I only read it. And did you hear that the head guru got busted coming out of a Burger King?
Yeah. He got busted several times, and shoplifting Twinkies and stuff, always junk food.
I think they tried to say that it was a bathroom tip and just happened to be in a Burger King.
Is it butter, but they're making some without butter now?
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you.
Of course. I'm saying you're welcome for the bread that they're toasting that they made.
And did I hear this is homemade sourdough?
Yes.
So I just started baking bread this year.
Oh.
I haven't tried sourdough yet.
Wow. This is the
Is-
best bread of all life.
How hard is it?
It's not hard, if you want
Okay.
a starter.
Right.
Starter.
And I think my wife has several starters because she's the one that's been saying she's going to do it, but I'm going to end up.
Then you got to go after every 2 weeks to have a new starter.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yeah.
So we may need to get more
So
starter.
you can be really generous for your neighbors.
Yeah. She bought me a Dutch oven
Oh.
to
I
bake.
don't use that salmon because I have, like heavy.
Hey.
Yeah.
Do you guys like blueberries?
I love
Blueberries?
Blueberries are awesome.
Eloise, you are a champ. You escaped today.
Oh,
Thank
yeah. These are my mom's skills.
you. So, but yeah, that was so funny.
I've got to feed people.
What were you gonna the cactus thing was always planned to be here though. You weren't.
I brought it over to Sarah.
Oh, you did. You actually had brought it with you. Wow. So you were coming over to do cactuses with us there, and we had a blackout.
And awkward exercising, possibly. But
Well,
Eloise?
awkward exercising. I need to hear more.
Eloise, I definitely need to see this awkward exercising at some point.
Okay, well, how much more time do we have? Like, maybe we can exercise with you. We can do it.
1, 2, 3. Not it.
I would do it, but I have to leave fairly shortly to head over to the tattoo parlor.
No one's buying it.
No one's buying it. Ugh. I'm really good at awkward exercise too. It's pretty much the only kind of
That's
exercise I do.
right.
Here's some blueberries for you
I
guys.
didn't know there was another kind.
Okay, let's see.
Do you mind if I put some hot sauce on the blueberries?
How about if you put them on half the blueberries?
If you're just tuning in, let me fill you in on what you've missed so far. We have had to change locations because of a blackout. We've been on the news. They came out to hang out with us and we did happy dances. Molly has eaten 6 different kinds of bugs, and Sarah matched her bug for bug with graduated levels of hot sauce, starting at 1 and going all the way up to see. So hot sauces started at 607 Scoville and went all the way up to 25,000 Scoville.
That sounds hot.
Yeah, but it wasn't that bad. Now I feel like I'm ready to go on hot ones. Because that's the only thing
I
that's
think
going to
you
keep
should
me.
go on.
Yeah, I didn't lack of training at all. Just I wasn't sure I could handle the hot sauce.
Well, I think you can now.
Just these toast in avocado oil, does that work? Avocado oil?
Sure, or I could have them not toasted, however.
They're frozen, so.
Oh, okay. And now we are having homemade sourdough bread and fresh blueberries. So we're really
It's a hard knock life.
a little spoiled. So, but I have been, other than a 20-minute nap, I have been now not podcasting, live streaming for 12 hours and 32 minutes with one 20-minute nap.
Unfortunately, Rob Campbell is working.
I am so tired of that guy and his work ethic. Coming up in just 29 minutes, I'm going to chat with my friend Aaron Carnes, ska aficionado, another ska pun. He's a ska authority and a ska aficionado, about the genre of music that is ska, a complicated and beautiful genre of music. Oh, and Jen Sherry said great shirt 2 hours ago. And Kelly Guerrero said Molly is braver than I.
Oh,
2
thank
hours
you.
ago. I think that was during the bug eating.
Yeah, I think I was forgetting to look at the feed during the bug feeding.
Well, it's their comments were on my personal page.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Even though we're
was gonna
streaming
say, I
directly
thought
to
it
my
was-
personal page,
It's
they don't show up there.
That's weird.
I was wishing they would. I wonder if people comment on YouTube if they'll show up there.
Maybe.
So Carnsey. Oh, and then did we see if we could record?
18. Sarah tried to figure out, well, it said it automatically records,
Oh,
but there is a limit by social media platform that it's on. So I think it maybe doesn't record all of it on Facebook, but it will record all of it on in the library of
Okay.
what's being aired.
awesome.
So only 8 hours of it will keep on Facebook and 4 hours on Instagram, or they have different platform limits.
Okay. I am going, okay, let's see. So I'm getting ready to interview Aaron Carnes, and I thought that I would maybe type out some of the questions I want to ask him, so I'm prepared. If any of you who are tuned in right now have questions that you would like me to ask a rock and roll journalist, they don't have to be about ska. They can be, he's a music journalist. He knows music. But we're definitely going to talk about ska. He has a book called In Defense of Ska. And we'll be chatting about it. He just finished a second printing of it, a second edition, expanded edition. And I think it's grown by like a third. He did a whole new segment on international ska. Ska? Oh, well, I should save this for when I talk to him. But it is fascinating the way it keeps moving around the globe and having its moment in different places. And it's just huge in South America right now. And the South American ska is super dope, too.
Super dope. Okay, I have entered.
So I'm making a list of questions I'm going to ask Aaron. So again, if any of you think of a question you'd like me to ask the Ska Authority, I will do so. And I will definitely start with the question, what the hell is ska? Pardon my language.
Seems Seems like a good question to start with.
Yeah.
Set a baseline.
I do realize that not everybody is up on
Have everyone have the information in common.
musical genres. What were you saying?
Have the information common so everybody has a
Yeah.
baseline for understanding the conversation.
But if you want my advice right now, if you want to know how to prepare for this interview, go listen to the Satellites. That's a good place to start. The specials. Satellites will start you with some more traditional style. Specials will take you up to the British two-tone. And throw in a little fishbone and Operation Ivy, and you'll be ready. I need to ask Aaron if my ska playlist on Spotify is the best ska playlist he's ever heard. I'm pretty sure how great it is.
Okay.
I mean, no, it's good for him.
Ska to me is like wine. I like it. I can never remember the names of things that I like.
Okay.
But when people play it, I'm like, oh, that's really good. I really like that. Play it or pour it, either way.
Play it or pour it.
Yep. I'm just like, oh, I like this one. Remember that for later and tell me what I like next time because I can't remember.
Right. I absolutely love Soundhound on my phone because I always hear music that I like, and not only to know what it is, but to have it saved. It saves all my searches. It's like browse through.
Yes. I love it too. And then you can go through it and add it to playlists in my, I still do iTunes. I don't know if iTunes is still open or if I'm just behind the times, but I have my iTunes playlists that I then add them into.
I do again.
Yeah, iTunes. I don't know if it's something. It's Apple Music now,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But they are so much better than Spotify. They pay artists better, and I really need to migrate over there. The only reason that I haven't is that I love to make playlists, and you can migrate your playlist over, but it's a bit of work. There's a learning curve to it. So, yeah, we are really, to be honest, just doing some work and killing time while we wait for the interview with Aaron at 1. But if there's, as before, ask me anything. I'll just talk about the Sacramento Kindness campaign. But in the meanwhile, if you want to ask me about anything, and it can be about your favorite TV show, I don't care. We'll chat with you. Leave a comment. Ask us about something you want to see us talk about. I think if you want to make Molly eat more bugs, though, you have to donate. I don't think that's free.
Oh, and I threw them in the garbage, so I would actually have to be eating bugs out of the garbage, which, by the way,
Why?
I'll pull a George Costanza
Why did you?
and eat bugs out of the garbage.
Why did you?
You
didn't think we were going to get our
I'm obsessive tinier.
$1,500? You don't think we're going to get our $1,500 bid?
Totally
pour
do.
milk over them?
I totally do, and I just wanted to eat bugs out of the garbage because I've always wanted to like recreate the George Costanza
He's your hero.
scene where he gets the eclair out of the garbage at
Right.
the party.
Which I could totally see doing.
I think it'd be a lot easier to get an eclair out of the garbage
Than
than
bugs.
all of these little bugs.
But they're in a plastic bag, right?
No, that's the book.
You
Just-
did?
I did.
Oh, we'll see.
How much did you pay for those bugs?
$9.99.
So I am
I'm not gonna finish this.
I am obsessed. I swear to God, I will eat the most horrible stuff just because I cannot throw food away. And I don't know where it comes from. I didn't really have food insecurity as a child.
Did your parents or grandparents, so were they affected by the depression?
I hear stories about my grandparents.
Yes.
A little bit.
Here's the thing, my father, he lived until he was like 93 years old or something. And they grew up on a farm in Woodland, and you're still the giant head, you're the giant forehead. Please, lean in a little bit. There's the giant forehead, and
That's
Molly's
not-
the giant head.
That's not
I'm
nice.
a little, I'm sorry. Well, but you're still your head, it's like eye candy forehead, right?
Okay.
Okay. Anyways,
That's
so-
my best feature.
well, anyways, so he grew up on a farm and they had food because they lived on a farm. And they also went to neighboring farms and they would glean potatoes.
Yeah.
And so he remembers walking through the fields and gleaning potatoes. And I think it's a beautiful illustration of really what we do at Sacramento Kindness Campaign. People will often give us a thing that's left over that they don't need, right? When we've furnished homes and stuff like that, it's really just gleaning potatoes. But on the other side of my family, my grandma, she cooked with condensed milk because it couldn't get fresh milk or whatever. And I still like cooking with condensed milk. So generational stuff.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
I will say that my grandmother's generational stuff did not stick with me because one of my most humorous memories of her is that she, at a certain point, it got kind of hard for her to be mobile. And so she and my grandpa would drive to the store. They live in Alaska, so groceries are super expensive. And so they would drive to the
Except for
Safeway.
penguin meat, which you get really cheap up there.
The penguin?
Penguin meat.
Really?
No.
No.
Oh my gosh, you guys are terrible.
If I'd never been to Alaska, I might have believed you.
You got me.
But so my grandma would make like this really detailed list and send my grandpa into the store while she waited in the car. And one time she would always look for the sales. And so once she found a sale on Best Foods mayonnaise, and she had you could buy a max of 4 of them. So my grandpa brought back 4 jars of fat-free Best Foods mayo,
No.
which is the worst tasting. It's like eating. It's tasteless. It's like eating only texture. And if
Right.
you're having mayonnaise only for the texture, it's not good. It really needs the taste to offset the texture. So my grandma, being of the Depression era, just couldn't hang with like not eating the mayonnaise. But she didn't just eat the mayonnaise. She would have my grandpa would make the sandwiches, and then she would eat the sandwich, and every bite she would be like, "This sure would be a lot better with full fat mayonnaise." And then the next bite, "This sandwich doesn't taste very good. It's awful." And my poor grandpa just sat there for however long it took to go through at least the first jar of mayonnaise, and then I just opened a jar of regular Best Foods.
I have Greg Proops here.
Oh,
Okay, now he's gone again. I think he just realized he wasn't meant to be here yet.
okay. So yeah, that was and then my grandma felt like she clearly was so betrayed. She's like, "Who opened the regular mayonnaise?" And I just played dumb. I said, "Oh, Grandma, that was me. Was I not supposed to?" And she said, "We have 3 more jars of fat-free to finish." And I was like, so sorry for that.
Oh, sorry.
So sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So we have $82 left to fulfill District 3 Supervisor Rich Desmond's match for SKC. And once that $82 has been accounted for, we can dig into the next match, which is Jaya Zimmerman Kaufman's $1,000. So please help us not to leave $1,082 on the table for Big Day of Giving. If you can get us another $1,082, then it'll be double.
Nice.
And Keith is the resident expert mather, in addition to being the official eye candy, so he can do that math for you. It's all right in his head right now.
$20 becomes $40. I have a depression story.
Okay.
My grandpa was a very different environment than your grandpa. My grandpa was a Scottish immigrant in New York. And him and his friends would put on their good suits, they would put on their good hat, and they would go out to a restaurant, and they would take a really long time to decide what to order, because the whole time you're deciding, they bring you soup and bread.
Wow.
And so they would eat the soup and eat the bread. And, "Oh, can you tell me more about the lobster?" And then after they got their fill of soup and bread, they would say, "I think I'm full." I want you to guess it'd be like a dime, and they would each leave their dime.
Wow.
But they wouldn't tell you and keep bringing it to you if they knew that's all you were going to say. So the suit and everything was all part of the like
That's smart.
convincing them to.
Super clever. It wasn't my grandfather, it was my dad.
Your dad.
My dad, and my dad was an older parent. He was 40, let's see, I think he was 45 when I was born. And
Wow.
I always wondered if I was going to lose him before my friends lost their dads, but he sure stuck around. And because I was afraid I was going to lose him when I was young, I made it a point to tell him I loved him every time I thought it.
Oh,
And yeah, so I think that's a really lovely side effect. And I got to still keep him longer than some of my friends have their dads. You know.
I was 38.
Oh, yeah.
I'm now 45. My goodness.
Yeah.
One
I was
more
30 when he was born.
Okay.
One more quick bit of fundraising housekeeping. Eloise Berryman, our board president, still has $122 left in her personal match. So if anyone donates through Eloise's personal campaign for SKC, which can be found on our Big Day of Giving page, then it will be matched on her page and then matched again on our general match fund. So that's a really good way to pick up money in triplicate.
Yeah.
So $122. Who wants to donate $122? Bring it.
Bring it.
One of my favorite stories that I read in Reader's Digest was a Depression era story where a woman was writing about Easter at her family's house. And every year her mother cut the ends off of a ham and put it in to roast. Cook, bake, whatever you do with a ham.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just the way it was done. And so she did the same thing. And her husband asked her, why do you cut the ends off the ham before you put it in the oven? She's like, I don't know, that's the way my mom did it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she asked her mom, why do you cut the ends off the ham? And she said, I don't know, that's how my mom did it. So that's how I do it.
Yeah.
And it traced back to the Depression
Yes.
when they only had one pan and it was a small pan and the ham didn't fit in the pan. So they had to cut the ends off the ham to fit it in the pan.
Yeah, the reasons that we do the things we do, they talk about how things go for 7 generations.
Yeah.
And I think that's really true.
I do too.
In so many categories, right?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of us that are, by the way, that are generational trauma breakers that I just want to acknowledge right now. I know so many people that have had stuff that has been around for a few generations. They are stopping that with their kids. It is incredible.
I give my mom so much credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
She, my parents weren't perfect,
Sure.
but my mom stopped a cycle that who knows how long has been going on.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So
My
whether-
thought reading the story was how that original grandmother would have been so distraught by the unnecessary waste of that
Of the
ham
ham.
generations hence.
Well, wait, were they cutting it off and throwing it away?
Oh, not possible.
I don't know what they
Or
were
were they,
doing
because
with it.
I know
She
that
didn't address that in the story.
yeah, so my mom will use the ham bone in her split pea soup,
Mhm.
right? And so I can imagine that somebody would have cut the ends off of the ham to make a second dish with it.
Could be.
That's what I'm gonna hope for.
Mhm.
And then maybe grandma's proud that they got 2 dishes out of the ham and less work for mom,
Mhm.
right?
We'll go with that ending of the story. And my grandpa used to make ham hocks and beans
Mhm.
out of his ham bits and pieces.
Yeah, my dad would make beans too. He would try to entice me over to the stove. He'd be like, look at these beans. They are delicious. Please taste these beans. And I would taste them and they tasted like the last batch of every other batch that he'd made for my entire life. And I just didn't really like it that much, but I would always go over and taste it. And thanks, Dad. You want a bowl? No, thanks, Dad.
Some comedian talking about how the whole neighborhood would get excited when someone was making beans.
Uh-huh.
And I told me later, I just love making beans. And Brenda and Max were like, beans. I'm like, gosh, I made beans.
Yeah. Well, so when we were giving out rice and bean meal kits in 2020, though, I definitely made a few batches of the meal kits, and they were delicious. They were better than my dad's beans.
Ooh, I've got the hiccups.
Oh, do you have a hot sauce hiccup?
No, I have a sourdough.
Oh.
Sourdough toast hiccups.
I heard that the hot sauce hiccups, did you tell us that?
That was key.
Oh, there's something else, huh?
That's the worst.
Do you have the photos, the screen caps that you took
Here.
from?
Oh,
I sent them
There-
both of that.
And, let's see here.
I told them not to share them with you.
Let me just send this.
Oh,
to-
Miriam has some off
But I was,
camera donations, off outside donations. So thank you to Diane Fatig for her $20 donation, and Ginny Romero for a $100 donation, and that's either Lola or Iola. I think Iola Halligan for $20.
Now, will they be able to qualify for the matching or no? Because they-
Yes.
Oh,
So I will manually enter them in right now. There's a mechanism for
Oh,
doing
good,
that.
good.
So if you donate to, through our Facebook donation or whatever it is, or you donate directly to, like, my auntie doesn't know how to do all of the buttons, so she just Zelled me the amount. So I just made the donation myself and put her name in manually. So however you get the money to us, we will do the recording appropriately in Big Day of Giving.
Awesome. We are about 8 minutes away from chatting with Aaron Carnes. Did you
Excellent.
watch it?
Molly, if they give a bag of quarters, will you record that?
If they give a bag of quarters, I will 100%
Uh-huh.
count them and record them
One time,
before 11:59.
when I was like sort of really in the thick of things, I brought a bag of quarters to pay for a co-payment, and my doctor's office would not accept it.
Oh,
And so I just have to say that a bag of quarters is just as good as paper bills, and it's just as good as Zelle. And for somebody who wants to have the courage to lug that bag of quarters, we see you.
yeah,
You
we
know-
see you.
Yeah.
Cal Expo charges like $10 for
Yeah.
parking, which is outrageous to begin
Yeah.
with. And I roll up to the state fair,
Mhm.
and the guy says $10, and I said I have a roll of quarters,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Well, I'm not going to take that."
Oh, it was in
And
a
I said, "Well, you are." And I said, "I'll break them out and hand them to you a bill at a time. We can go real quick if that's what you need."
Mhm.
And he goes, "I'm not taking them." And I
Okay.
said, "Okay." And I turned off the car, and I set the keys down. Big line behind me, and I said, "You can get security to move me, or you can take my $10." And he
Right.
goes, "Give me the $10."
Wow. Well, okay, so back to coins. My mom, she's very, very smart, and she graduated high school when she was 16.
Okay.
And she had to go straight to
I didn't
work.
know that about your mama.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So she had to go straight to work, and she worked some really interesting jobs. One of the jobs that she worked was because she was living in Nevada, so she went to work for one of the casinos, and she was the change girl. So she would walk around with these things of
All
coins
right.
all the way around her hip, and man, her back would hurt. So she decided to get a different job, and she worked for the phone company. And she was one of those people that, somebody would call and she'd say, "Hello, where can I transfer your call?" And they would tell her which house they were calling. She'd unplug it from one thing and plug it into the house. Yeah. We actually talked about that with my daughter when she was doing a science project and was supposed to interview an elder and talk about technology. And one of the things they talked about was the telephone. And my mom had this great story. I mean, what a cool job, right?
That's wild.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that Mr. Carnes has the link to participate. What did I do?
What did you do?
What did you do?
Uh-oh.
Whoa. Okay, there we go. Did it change the feed on your end to all black?
Let me see. Where is the feed? I have too many tabs open. It is my chronic lament.
I mean, I got it back to normal now, but let me know when you're looking.
Okay. Do I even have paper?
You must, because I can see you.
Oh, where is it? Oh, there it is. It's buried. Oh, no, that's Kim. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
What do you see now?
Looks the same to me.
Okay, so it's just on my view, isn't it? Okay. So invite and then copy, and then let me go over to Facebook and make sure that Mr. Carnes has that. And he is 5 minutes away from us chopping it up. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So I've sent Carnes his invitation, and we're just kind of killing a little time till he can come in here and talk about ska with us and, music journalism in general. But one of the funnest things about his book, and I'll make sure I ask him about this, but he's not just a fan. He has personal experience touring the country with a ska band, and I think that is awesome. And I'm a bad friend because I don't even remember what instrument he played. I can't for the life of me. He seems like he'd be a drummer. We'll take his insult. Not everybody wants to be thought of as a drummer.
So you didn't happen to bring the. Do you happen to have one? Or even like a little tripod?
I don't know what we're going to do with that.
See, that's how I have the descriptionary version of the words, and I have the noise version of the words.
Mm-hmm.
And even the descriptionary fails me. And then there are the gestures. So that's the.
I'm trying to think too, like, you do like these little
That happens later in my life where I get up and I'm just like, and I sit down and like, and I have no idea why. I just started leaking noise.
but I like it. And I often leak noise back at you in response to you.
That's
like,
true.
So Greg Proops is here now,
great.
but he's not supposed to be here till 5.
No.
Oh my gosh, let's talk to him.
Okay, we'll go ahead and say hi to him. How you doing, Greg?
Good. I can't
Dude, I think you might be
I
muted.
thought it was 3:00 your time, my time. Sorry.
Or maybe I don't have any volume on. Okay, I'm
Hang on
sorry.
one
Now
second
talk to
here.
me, Greg.
Test, test, test.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I thought you meant 3:00. I'm in the central time zone here.
Yeah, no, I gave everything to you, your time zone.
I'm in Nebraska.
I know. I did that adjustment for you.
Oh. At 5:00 I have to go do a gig.
Well, let's wrap now.
All right.
Can you
I'm
throw
sorry
your
to burst
volume
in
up?
high undisputed queen
Or
of
you-
everything.
I'm not sure which it needs. Okay, so, and then does someone want to go message Aaron Carnes and see if he wants to swap and come on at 5?
I'm so sorry. I really thought it was.
No, totally okay. That today has been such delightful chaos.
Yeah.
So a local news station came out to do a story with us, and as they showed up at the house lost power.
Oh
We're
my
like,
God.
what the
Are you
hell? Like,
kidding?
no. What's that?
Are you kidding?
It was amazing. And it turned out it was a planned outage of 28 houses. And we just happened to be one of them, like winning the lottery. Out of the hundreds of thousands of houses, 28 of them were turned off today, and we were one of them. So
Oh my
literally,
God.
we were streaming from my phone and racing over to another house. So it's been fun.
Thank you.
But you know what?
Yeah.
When you're doing something wacky, like trying to stream for 24 hours straight. I've been on here for 13 hours now.
Oh, honey.
I did take
Is it a
20 minute
marathon
off.
or something?
It is. It's a streamathon.
Are you raising money for something?
We are. So we're raising money for the Sacramento Kindness Campaign. And we have what in Sacramento is called the Big Day of Giving. And so there's all kinds of neat stuff. Sarah insisted on coming in, but she's sitting right
It's a
next to me.
Sarah
Sarah.
sandwich. I mean, look, I mean, this is pretty, let me see.
You're
There I am.
sandwiched between Keith and
Yes,
Craig.
yes.
So many people have wanted to be where you are right now.
Right?
I just wanted to fangirl for a little bit here, but
So-
I'll wait till my turn.
I didn't
Yeah,
notice my collar was popped, but now that it is, I'm going to stay with it.
Okay.
Pop my
Sarah, can
apron.
you give us the elevator pitch what Sacramento Kindness Campaign is?
Yeah.
The shortest version of
Yeah.
it.
So Sacramento Kindness Campaign fills gaps in services and resources that aren't being filled by other organizations. And we've fed hundreds of thousands of people, and we've helped 79 families with children to get housed and sustainable. So lots of gaps over the years, and right now this is one of my favorites.
That's
So-
fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then so Sacramento does a thing called the Big Day of Giving that's for local nonprofits, and it's just a big fundraising opportunity, and they do fund matching and all kinds of great stuff. So we decided for our participation in it, we would go midnight to midnight, and I'm the one who suggested it, so that meant that I'm the one who had to take the brunt of it. There.
How are you holding up, Keith?
I'm doing all right. They did let me take a nap.
Okay.
I got my 20-minute nap in. But so here's, you and I have gotten to chat a couple times on different podcasts and stuff. And I performed with you recently at the Sophia. Your stand-up is brilliant and sharp. I remember seeing you at the Punchline, and the opening comedian was sitting next to me in the back. And he turned around in the middle of your set and said, "Jesus Christ, I didn't know I'd have to bring my thesaurus." Because of your wonderful vocabulary. So I've had a lot of chances to talk to you about stand-up, but something I'm super interested in that I haven't gotten to talk to you about much is your voiceover work. And not everyone knows this, but you are Bob the Builder.
Well, I was. I
You
don't know
were.
if it's still
Yeah,
on
you
the air.
still
I
are.
think
You
it
are
might
for
be.
life, man.
Okay, I still am then. I was Bob for a long time, and it was a fun gig. It was these lesbian women in England. They ran a company called HIT, and I went into audition. I have no idea why they were looking for a new one. They were looking for what they call in England an international one, meaning, or rather North America, which is what they call Canada and the United States.
Okay.
Leaving out Mexico. And what's his name? Neil, Kittens. I'll think of his name. He's a famous TV star in England. He was the British one, and he had kind of a almost Liverpool accent. So he talked a bit like Paul McCartney. Like his book was like this a bit. We've reduced, reused, and recycled, haven't we? And so they were looking for an American one because they wanted to what you did was you took all the ones they'd made, all the Bob the Builders with English accents, and they brought in all these Americans and Canadians, and we just dubbed them. So the episodes were already there, and we came in and we dubbed them for America. So there's actually 2 versions of Bob the Builder. So I went into the audition, and this is the best part of the story. I'll cut to the fun part. I was in Soho, and my voice agent sent me to a studio there. And Soho is a part of London that's like super, famous, but a lot of the recording studios are there, or used to be, you know how everything is. Anyway, I walked in, and they were like, they want you to read for Bob the Builder. I'm like, I didn't even know what it was because I don't have any little children. Because people come up to me and go like, I have a 3-year-old, and they love you on Bob the Builder. So for a long time, I was super hot with the under 5s because I think Bob is like 3 and 4. It's that age period. It's not. I think after 5, you're like it's uncool. Like when you have a lunchbox and you're 8. So I went in and I thought of all these funny voices. I talk like this and blah 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 and all that. So I did all these funny voices, and then finally over the PA, which they fantastically call in England a tannoy, over the tannoy, a TANNOY. The loudspeaker is a tannoy. Don't ask. I don't know why there's so much they do that's inexplicable. Came over and she said in her very calm English way, Greg, would you mind doing the character in your own voice? And I said, are you insinuating I have a funny cartoon voice? And she said, well, if you wouldn't mind. So I read it like this, like the way I'm talking to you. So I go, well done, Scoop. You reduced, you reused, and you recycled. So I came out and I came out in the studio, and she said, so we'd like to offer you the part. Would you like to do it? And I said, I'd adore to be Bob the Builder. So I ran downstairs, and on my great big 2000, phone, called my voice agent and went, call them back right now. I'd never before since been offered the gig in the studio the minute I did it. So I did it for about 5 years, and fantastically, I'll tell you one more story since you asked. We were doing the World Cup in Germany. Drew Carey was very kind and asked me to come over and help him do this. I think it was Discovery Channel. Anyway, he was doing this like travelogue for Discovery Channel, and it was about Germany and shit. But it was during the World Cup, right? So Jennifer and I went, and he picked me because I'm the only person he knew then that liked soccer, as they call it. Now, of course, everybody is into it, but I'd lived in England, so I actually knew, who the players were and how the game worked, and how come a 0-0 game is still exciting, or a 1-0 game is exciting, whereas Americans were like, "What do you mean it's 1-0? I don't like it." So we went to Germany, and I'd recorded one in the studio, and I shouldn't even say his name, but I guess it doesn't matter now. The engineer was named Joss, Joss, which is both a boy and a girl's name in England, and Joss. And so Joss recorded about like he was a bit high, and he hit the wrong button, and he deleted the whole fucking file. And it was like 16 shows, maybe 18 shows. It was like a season's worth. And he had literally pushed a button and deleted the entire enchilada. And he came to the show once at the Comedy Store to see us do improv, and he was just hammered. So I assumed at the time he might have been high when he hit the button. Anyway, he was a very nice cat. He got fired. I got a call, and they go, I know you're in Germany, but will you fly back to London and redo all those shows? And I was like, hell yeah. And fantastically, and this is for all of the performers out there, Keith, we'll pay you again. So I was like, I turned to my wife. I'm like, Jennifer, I'm going back to, London. I'm recording. I show up at the studio in Soho, and I loved the studio because it was around the corner from, if any of your listeners or viewers have been to London, on Compton Street, there's a place called the Bar Italia, which is really old. One of the only places you could get a cappuccino, like in the 50s and 60s and 70s. You'll even see it in like old movies. And there's a gigantic poster of Rocky Marciano behind the counter, right? To get, for that Italian, like do the right thing, right? Italian heroes, So it's got a big Rocky Marciano poster. And now, of course, there's coffee everywhere in London, but in those days, it wasn't bloody coffee. So I would get a coffee, and then I'd come over to the studio. I go to the studio, and they've got a bottle of champagne for me. And they're like, oh, thank you so much for coming back and doing that. I'm like, no problem. And the cat, go ahead.
Can I just touch on the fact that they didn't need to bring you to the studio?
Keith, everyone I told that I was doing the Bob the Builder while I was doing it, they would fly me to London, and I would be there for a week, and we'd get everything done in 2 days because you could knock it off. And the guy who was the producer was named Pete, and he was a huge jazz fan. And he and I would just talk about music and Steely Dan and, jazz musicians we liked. And then we'd order Korean or Chinese for lunch. It was the best gig. And every single American, every single one, and now including you, would go, why don't you just record it in America? And I'd go, They'd fly me and my wife over. We'd stay for a week in London, and I'd record the bloody show. It's the best bloody gig I ever had. So it was really fun, and I loved doing it. And especially when I got to go back and get paid again for a whole season.
Well, now that it's safe to talk about it because you're not going to lose the gig, it's gone.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Why they didn't just have you recorded at a sound studio here?
I don't know. And I think they were doing the right thing because I got to go to England a whole bunch of times, and I did gigs when I was over there, and I got to see all my friends, And in
Yeah,
those
I
days,
love
for
it.
drugs
I
and
certainly
all the
wouldn't
things I did
complain.
those days, all the shit I got up to in those days. And so it was great. It was so much fun. It was the best gig. It paid a lot of money. Neil Morrissey. He was on the English version of Men Behaving Badly, which came over to here America. And I was actually on an American version of Men Behaving Badly. It was, I swear to you, Rob Schneider and Ron Eldard. Rob Schneider had a sitcom called Men Behaving Badly, if you remember it, in the early 2000s. And
I don't. I remember when he had that wasn't the one that he funded himself. That was so god awful.
no, and this was before everybody knew that he was like a kind of a,
Right.
But I mean, I knew Rob for 30 years because he's from Pacifica, California. I'm from San Carlos, and we were both San Francisco comics together. And so I'd played with him in the old days before he got on SNL and stuff. And we were, I wouldn't say we were old friends, but we, like every comedian that you work with over the years, friendly. And it was in the days when it was really funny that men were jerks.
Right.
Which, by the way, have never gone away. People would say, oh my God, everything's so PC now. But really?
Yeah, I'm listening.
There's a man being tried in New York City who's wearing a diaper and can't stop swearing and lies constantly. And we still keep saying, oh, everything's, God, people can't do what they want. Yeah, they can.
This darn woke mob.
Yeah.
Listening to Seinfeld over the last couple weeks, I'm just, what is he talking about? He just finished the finale of Curb Your Enthusiasm, for God's sake. A great subversive show. South Park is still on. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I mean, we could go on and on, but
how do you go ahead?
No, please, you.
Well, I mean, like you just said. So his big bitch is that he's constrained somehow. And yet his partner from Seinfeld has been on a show for 10 years? That's the most awful, rude, dismissive, brusque, insensitive show in the history of sitcoms. And he's never said anything.
And was not canceled. He said he felt like retiring. They would have gladly given him another 3 seasons at once, I'm sure.
They offered him $5 million an episode when he retired from Seinfeld, and he turned it down, which at the time I remember respecting him for it because he wanted to go back and do stand-up. And now you're like, well, so what is this? Well, they wouldn't let us do it now. Yeah, they would. Sure, and Honey Bear, I don't know about you, Keith, but I'm old, but like my worst fear was always to become irrelevant. And how you become irrelevant is to stay stupid shit like that.
Absolutely.
The minute you want to be irrelevant, start saying that music's not as good, comedy's not as good, art's not as good, literature's not as good. Start going through everything that was way better when you were at the center of it.
Yes. I love listening to music with my daughter and just... Yeah. She's got such great taste. And once in a while I get to introduce her to something. I played Sinead O'Connor for her and just, she was like, this is great. But
Sinead O'Connor. See, there's someone, people keep talking about being canceled. Sinead O'Connor was canceled. She was canceled. And the reason she was canceled was, one, she was outspoken about the terrible injustice that Catholic people suffer in Ireland, especially women. And she was beautiful. And because she didn't say, come and get it, men fucking hated her. And can I swear on your show? I know this is a benefit for children and stuff.
Group decision here.
No one seems to care.
Okay, all right. I didn't mean to be so profane, but
okay.
Sinead O'Connor was a gorgeous woman. And men can't, unless it's come and get it. Here they are, come and get them. Men really, really, really don't dig it. And they will put you down. They'll say you're crazy. That's the first thing women are. They're angry. They're upset. They need to calm down. One thing women always need to do. Yeah. So Sinead O'Connor absolutely got canceled, and she was a profound artist. Not my favorite, but I loved her honesty And the problem with being honest is no one likes it, Keith. Whose quote was it? God damn it. There's a famous quote, you better be funny if you're going to be honest or they're going to kill you.
Oh, nice. I don't know
Yeah.
that quote.
No, I don't either, but I can't remember who said it, but I remember I think it was Oscar Wilde or something. And then what was it? Voltaire said, God is a comedian playing to an audience who's too scared to laugh.
I am going to keep going down the voiceover
Please.
hole. But first, the gentleman that we bumped to the 5 o'clock time slot he's a great guy. He's happy, but he did ask me a favor. His name's Aaron Carnes, and he wrote a book called In Defense of Ska. They just published the 2nd edition of it. It's wonderful. He really delves into the history of the music. And he said, okay, I'm all right with you bumping me, but you have to ask Greg Proops if he likes ska.
One of the best concerts I ever went to was the English Beat at a theater called the Cinema on Market Street in 1982. I think it was right after Here Can't Stop the English Beat and right before Special Beat Service, or right around that time. And then the Clash, Combat Rock came out. So 81 maybe? Combat Rock came out. And the Clash played the Civic Center in San Francisco, and the English Beat opened for them. And so I saw the English Beat twice. And I also did a game show in the early 2000s, a dating show. And Dave Wakeling was on the show, and he fantastically was hammered. There were beers backstage, and he started drinking before we started. And at one point, you were supposed to comment on the show, and he just talked through the whole thing. It was great.
Nice.
And the English Beat, to answer your question, yes. I think the English Beat were a superb. I have 2 more English Beat riffs. Their producer was named Bob Johnston, and I was at his 40th birthday party in London, in a studio in London, and a girl sat on my lap, and my wife walked in. I don't even know if we were married yet, and she was so fucking mad at me. I didn't make her sit on my lap. I'm completely innocent, of course. Or Bob Patterson. God, now I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, I love the Specials, especially.
Oh my God, yeah.
And poor Terry from the Specials passed away last year.
Yeah.
And Terry from the Specials was unique in British, pop, because he wasn't a racist weenie. He worked with the 2 other cats in the Specials were black, and then he went on to do Fun Boy 3, and they were black. So his entire music career was spent collaborating with black musicians one-on-one in a band. And I can't think of any other white musicians from England who really made it their goal to do that, 1. And 2, the Specials were trenchant, and like the Beat were trenchant and cogent. And Madness, I always thought, was more like a cabaret act.
I love them though.
I know they're fun. They're fun. They're there for fun. They have big pants and they're dancing around and whatever.
Right.
The Specials and the Beat had a little bit more edge to them as far as politics. And also in England, it was different. Madness, kind of the white guys liked Madness, so that made it more of a national front kind of thing. And I don't know that was their doing. I don't think they went out and said
no. They were asked though. It was like you can't just enjoy their fandom and not say anything. You need to denounce them. And Jerry Dammers from the Specials, I mean, he helped start Rock Against Racism. He started the Specials to combat racism. That was his point. And 2-Tone Records. I mean, it was all about black and white and, hero, one of my all-time heroes. And Terry was certainly a huge part of that as well. And it's so funny because the racists are always like, oh, you're trying to educate our children that white people are the bad guys. And like, no, there was a bunch of white people who were fighting racism who were good guys. They're John Brown and Tecumseh Sherman. We have heroes too, and they're also Americans, and, in this case British, but So, cool. You like ska.
I do. I'm not a
what's your
big,
favorite?
No Doubt is not my favorite band, but are they really ska? I don't know.
At times. I don't
They were
hate them. I don't love
ska-y.
them. Yeah, they were
Um,
ska adjacent for sure.
I
I'm going
think
to
the
send
beat,
my ska playlist. I'm
Right.
pretty sure it's the best ska playlist ever made. Pretty
yours.
sure. Yeah, of course.
So, because I think I was watching Gangsters the other day and every Halloween I play Ghost Town over and over because I think it's one of the greatest singles ever made. And I think it came out after they broke up. And the video is quite good too. It's fun, and they're just riding around in a car in London and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the English beat, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, had a chance to be. I mean, they were great what they were. I hate when people say they didn't fulfill their potential. They totally fulfilled their potential. But I really believe that had they stayed together, they might have been even bigger because they were really a wonderful band. They could sing and they could play, and they were great songwriters. And when Ranking Roger passed 3 or 4 years ago, we do improv, our improv show, we sing. And on the night Ranking Roger passed, Jeff Davis and I were singing, and we went to our musical director, Bob Durkach, and said, let's do ska tonight for a style. And we improvised English beat. And, we did the whole peace, love, and unity, peace, love, and unity, peace, love, and unity, and war here. The whole, you have to do, because Roger was so great. And then when the show that I saw with the Clash were kind of coked up then, but they weren't as energetic. And they brought Roger out in the middle of their show, and Roger came out and sang with them, and it was great.
I've heard a recording of him with them that was just released in the last couple of years that is so good. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, what is this? Because I couldn't believe I had never heard it before. And it was just phenomenal. Aaron, the author of the ska book, commented that Chaz, the dancer in Madness, made an edgy comment in the press that he later regretted. And that's how the whole they support Nazi thing started.
No. Well,
but
one last.
They were friends with the two. They were signed to Two Tone, and so
I was going to say they were with the Two Tones.
Yeah, they were part of that.
I was walking through Soho about 4 or 5 years ago, and Suggsy came out of the Soho Club, and Suggsy's gone on in England to be like a TV personality and stuff, and I went, Suggsy. And he was like, "You all right, Greg?" And so I was pretty chuffed that Suggsy recognized me and we said hi.
Well, were you on the British Who's Line more than you were on the American?
10 years.
I thought that was, yeah.
We did it for 10 years. The last 2 seasons we shot in America. And then the American one was 4 years on ABC, 2 years on Family Channel. And I think we just, believe it or not, we have a new season that we shot 2 years ago. I think we're on our 9th or 10th season on the CW. It just goes on and on.
Let's go back to Voice of Work while I still have you. You were in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, so I was playing in Edinburgh in 1996 or 97 at a venue called the Pleasance of the Road, which was a church, a kirk, as they say in Scotland, a kirk that they had turned into a cabaret. And when I say cabaret, like it had table seating down front. You'd have loved this configuration, Keith. A table seating down front, bleachers, and then a pub in the corner, right? And everybody in those days smoking, I used to smoke behind the curtain and smoke weed before I go on and shit, but like so it was real intimate and about 3.5, not that big, 3. It wasn't a 1,000-seater. It was a small, smoky, fucking dinky room. And I was playing, and Scott Capurro was playing after me, who's a comedian from San Francisco. So a woman came to see us, and she said, after we're casting the next Star Wars movie, which we didn't know anything about. No one knew anything about. So she goes, I really loved how you sounded. Will you come to London? So we went again to Soho to some office, and me and Scott sat there next to each other, and they gave us a script, and it just had wild lines, and then we made up a bunch of stuff, which nice. They hate when I say that, but I got in real trouble for it at the time when it came out because I suggested that George hadn't written every line. But
Yeah.
I think,
he's notoriously awful at dialogue. He can use the
yes,
help.
he's not a great. Script writing's not his métier. I think I came up with I don't care what universe you're from, that's gotta hurt. And Scott came up with he's got the skills to pay the bills, he's got the junk in his trunk, some other things they said. And I know I came up with that little human being is out of his mind.
Nice.
So people have come to me and said, how can you say I don't care what universe you're from? There's only one universe. And I'm like, you guys, calm down.
How dare you question the multiverse, Greg?
And
I'm sorry, Greg. I have to stop the interview there. I just can't talk to someone that would say something so wildly offensive.
right? That's the kind of shit people say. So she said, you guys want to do it? And we were like, yeah. And so I went to my agent. I had a very powerful English agent at the time named Vivian. And she said, well, I've looked at the deal and I don't want you to do it because the money is simply dreadful. And I said, Viv, this will live forever and it will go on the, they call a resume a CV in England, right?
Yeah.
Curriculum vitae. They use the Latin, don't ask. So a resume is a CV. I go, Viv, this goes on the top of my CV for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I go, there's nothing I can do ever that in my life ever that anyone will care about more than they will care about this thing. And so she went, well, you go on and do it if you want, but I still think the money's bloody awful. And, so I did it. And so we went to Leavesden.
I have to ask, how old was she? Was she the wrong age to understand what Star Wars meant?
A little older than me. She was,
wow.
dude, I don't know how much you've dealt with agents in your life, but Kirk Fox, the comedian, he said to me once, the funniest goddamn thing. Kirk Fox said to me, a manager is someone who gets you $2,500 for a $2,000 gig and then never stops telling you how great they are.
Okay.
And agents, on a side note, I was with an agency in LA once, the very fancy agent. I'm not anymore. I don't even have a fucking agent now, but I was with a fancy agency in the 90s. And my agent was a lunatic. And I booked 2 TV shows in 1 week. And this will give you an idea of what year it was. The Jamie Foxx show and the Army show. I don't know if you remember the Army show. Brian Posehn was on it. It was terrible. It lasted like 1 season. So I booked both shows. And not only did I book them at the same time, I had to choose because they were shooting the same week. So I chose the Jamie Foxx show because I thought it was hipper. And I wanted to meet Jamie because I'm an enormous fan. He's insanely talented.
Yes.
There's good comedians and there's comedians that are funny and there's comedians that
comedian, singer, dramatic actor, just phenomenal.
I mean, he's just a superb all around talent, right? Like,
agreed.
He sings. I mean, like I was watching a Barbra Streisand special with my wife, and she goes in the middle of it. It's from 5-7 years ago. She goes, now I'd like to bring someone out who's a very special artist, Jamie Foxx. And out comes Jamie Foxx at the Barbra Streisand concert. The place goes back crazy.
Wow.
And she sings a duet with him, and he's wearing a white suit, and you can tell Jamie Foxx is like this. Like he's completely can't believe that he's on stage with her. Like,
yeah,
Barbra Streisand, Miss Show Business. So, and of course, his singing is superb. Superb. So, when I did the Jamie Foxx show, he would sit down in between takes at a piano that was on the set and play. So, when he got the Ray Charles movie, they dubbed his voice in. Remember, they didn't use his voice, but he absolutely could play and sing as like Ray Charles.
Yeah. Well, and then he sang like a Ray Charles part on the Kanye album. And I thought they sampled Ray Charles, but no, it was
there was no reason to dub Ray Charles, and to be honest, because I watched him on the set play and sing, and he was just like and that I'll tell you what year it was. He was doing the movie Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino, where he played the quarterback. Anyway, so I booked those And I go back in to see my agent at the famous agency on Rodeo or wherever it was. And I sit down in her office, and this is what she said to me, Keith. What are we going to do with you? I mean, what are we going to do with you, Greg? With you, you're hard to cast. I mean, we're going to have to think outside the box for you. And I went, I just booked 2 sitcoms this week. So you're asking me about my agent in England.
Oh my goodness.
If you were my agent and I was your agent and you booked 2 shows, I would go, Keith, you're on fire right now. I'm submitting you for everything. I'm submitting you for everything.
You're killing it, man.
Clear your calendar because don't stay out late because we're going to book. And she said,
wait a minute. You're that Greg Proops. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had the wrong folder.
Yeah. What are we going to do with you? So I don't want to make the story the longest story on earth, but so we went to Livestream, and this part you'll like. And this is the old days, right? This is the 90s. So we have to have prosthetic heads made to be the pod race announcers. So I was green, I think, and Scott was red or something. And the technology is so different now. They put straws up our nose, covered our face in paper mache, and then made these enormous things. And it took a long time, hours. And we had to sit there, not breathing and no food and nothing with these enormous things on our heads. And the model shop guys were there and they were vibrating with excitement. And I said, what is going on with you guys? You're so crazy. And the guy goes, we had Uma Thurman in last week to make her bodysuit for the Avengers. And she was here in her underwear. She was in her underwear. So
last week, and they're still above.
Uma Thurman's 6 feet tall, So they had it. She had to get down to her bra and panties, and they wrapped her body to make the cat suit that she wears in the Avengers, which is a terrible bloody movie. And as much as I love Ralph Fiennes, and I do love Ralph Fiennes, it's just not, it's not for him. I think Eddie Izzard and Sean Connery fight on suspended from cranes. It's not a good movie. So we go in on the day.
Remember this?
There's
it
was a movie of the 60s Avengers, not the Marvel.
Oh,
it was the one with Diana Rigg and Patrick McNee.
Okay, I'm caught up now.
So there was 3 or 4 versions of it. There was a black and white one in England with Honor Blackman, who played Pussy Galore and the Goldfinger, so sexy. And then Diana Rigg, who was in Game of Thrones. She was Mrs. Peel. And then Linda Thorson, I think. And then there was one called The New Avengers. Anyway, so we go in on the day, and we're in makeup for 3 hours. 3 hours easily. And they put these giant things on us. So I couldn't see because no glasses, right? So I'm wearing this in our forearm. And they bring us onto the set, and we're wearing blue jumpsuits, like spandex. So it's horrible, right? I hate exposing my body to anyone. And so I'm wearing a spandex because we were in front of a blue screen, so that you could just. So there's George, and he's this big, right? And he goes, and there's 150 people in the studio standing there. No one's doing anything. They're all standing around behind the lights. And there's just a platform where we're supposed to stand. George comes up to us and he goes, so have you seen the pod race? And I go, no, George, we haven't seen the pod race. I go, no one's seen the pod race. It's a secret. Because, we had to sign an NDA and the whole, And he goes, oh, right, yeah. Do you want to see it? So I go, yeah, George, we'll have a look. So he puts it on, smaller than the Zoom screen. This is the 90s, so the video monitor is this. So I go like this, and put my face. And it's an animatic. It's some sketches, some video, some animation.
Okay.
You know, it's not finished at all. It's just
Right.
thrown together slapdash. And so we watch it. And then he goes, okay, you want to do some takes? And I went, sure, George, we'll do some takes. So we get up on the platform. No, he never said action. He never said
Okay.
cut. And you would go, turn your head to the right so we can. Turn your head to the left. Now look up. Now look behind you. We read the lines a bunch of times, but of course, you're never going to use that audio.
Right.
You know, the audio from the shoot is not going to. So we'd finish, they'd sort of wind down, and he'd walk up to us. And again, you have to pretend I'm, you know,
Right,
really
right.
short. He'd come up and he'd go, that was really good. You want to do it again? And every single time, Keith, because I could, yes, George, we would love to do it again. So we shot for, you know, half a day.
Oh, man,
I
what
can't
an
remember the
interesting
time. I think we
directing
did.
style.
Yeah. He was as I said to Scott, he was as relaxed as a child playing in an enormous thing. There were 150 people standing there. I would have been like,
Right.
I said it to Danny Elfman years ago when I was doing the live Nightmare, which I hope we're getting to. There was 150 people in the symphony orchestra. And I said, doesn't this make you a little jumpy, having this many people? And Danny goes, no, I can handle the million people. It's the one thing that I want to get right, you know? So,
Yeah.
so
Well, I know with comedy, I would rather go up in front of, you know, 1,000-person audience at a venue that seats 1,000 people than go up in front of 30 people at some bar. Yeah.
Right. So nobody understands that about comedy.
Yeah.
Playing to 10 people on Friday night is
Yeah.
horrible.
Especially late,
so-
drinking.
Yeah, we finish and we go back to get our makeup off, and taking the makeup off took, you know, a couple hours.
Yeah.
And because you know they had to cut it off, and they
Right.
did it.
Right.
And we had these enormous sort of wooden. They're very like Copenhagen, you know, kind of headphones, like real Danish
Okay.
modern, you know. And mind you, all of this got CGI'd right out of the movie.
Yeah, that's why I was so surprised to hear that there were so many props and everything, because I thought it was all that was a heavily CGI'd movie.
We actually shot in costume with
That's
makeup.
amazing.
And then he decided to CGI it. So now when you
Okay.
see the movie, it's the two. So you can go online and just type in us, and you'll see us in our actual costumes. There's photos of it.
Okay. I'm gonna
I
I'll
never
share
did
those on the Sac Kindness campaign Facebook page.
Right. And
But
so,
oh, go ahead.
well, Scott goes to the second AD. Oh, well, we saw Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor was shooting the other part of the picture with Frank Oz in the second unit.
Okay.
The second unit was Frank Oz, dude. So
Right.
Ewan comes in and we go, hey. And Scott goes, oh my God, Ewan's dick is so big, you know. And Scott says
Oh,
to the
Scott.
Scott says to the second AD, hey mate, is there any swag? And he goes, oi, give me a minute. Runs off, comes back. 2 polar fleeces. Episode 1, not the Phantom Menace. It wasn't named yet. Episode 1. So I have a polar fleece. Don't come to my house. Don't kill me. My Star Wars people. I possess a Phantom Menace polar fleece that does not say Phantom Menace on it. It says, like when they did Return of the Jedi, it was Revenge of the Jedi.
Right.
So a bunch of people have stuff that say Revenge of the Jedi, but then that went out the window and they became Return. So Phantom Menace was not called Phantom Menace. It was called Episode 1. And then they put the name on it. So we got home. We went back to my crib. I was living in Hampstead in London, and we ordered Chinese food. and we were fucking high-fiving each other and dancing around and shit. And Jennifer, my wife, was there, and we drank and we were eating Chinese food, and we're like, Star Horse, we're nothing but Star Horse. So then cut to the picture is going to open, and I'm in London. And again, every story is in Soho for some reason. They call me into a studio in Soho, and they go, you need to dub in all your lines, right? This is the ADR. What do they call it? Yeah, ADR, Foley, VO. So I'm stood in front of a mic, and they have the film in front of me. And this is the 90s. So instead of a Zoom like we're doing, there's none of this. None of this then. None of this existed. This did not exist. This did not exist. Nothing existed. There was a phone in a cradle on a speaker. And that was Marin down the line at 4 or 5 in the morning in Marin. ILM, right, in San Rafael.
Right.
And it wasn't George, it was some other cat who was in charge of, So I get in there and I do pass, that little thing, and I hear perfect, moving on. Right. Do another take, perfect, moving on. Do another take, perfect, moving on. I said, is it all right if I ask a question at this juncture? And they go on, Greg. And I go, can I ask when the picture opens? And from the voice in the cradle, 10 days.
Oh my God.
10 days.
And that was
Open.
real?
The picture
That's
opened.
incredible.
I was doing voice work on that movie 10 days before it opened, and it opened in 10,000 theaters, 1,000 million theaters. I mean, it opened in America in like 3,000 theaters,
Wow.
So that's my Star Wars story. Georgia was as nice as could be.
That makes sense why they were saying, perfect, move on. Perfect, move on. There's no time.
I said to myself, right? I go, I'm good. I'm not that good.
Right.
Who's that good? That everything they do is perfect.
So you gave me the perfect segue. I totally want to talk about Nightmare Before Christmas, both the film and the live. And we can wrap up with that because I don't want to take too much of your time. But I want to ask you this real quick because you and I are both, we have an unusual quality about us in this business. How long have you and your wife been together as a couple?
My wife and I have been together since 1985.
That's awesome. Yeah, me and my wife are 30 years together as a couple, 16 married.
Fantastic.
And you don't see a lot of that in our business. So with me, she is an introvert. So she's always been fine with, yes, go on the road. I don't mind having some time alone. And I'm an extrovert. So I've always been, okay, I'm going to get my time out and then I'm going to be glad as hell to be back with you when I come back. And it's just been a good balance. You guys have a similar thing? Oh,
yeah. I mean, she had to learn in our 20s that I was going to be gone, right. Especially when you're, when you're a novitiate, you can't choose where you're going and you can't choose what gigs, like you just take any gig for $50, whatever.
And so you can't afford to take your girlfriend with you.
No. And you get in your car and you drive to Oregon or, whatever, Nevada, and you spend 2 weeks on the road and you come back and they won't talk to you for 3 days, That's what happened at the beginning. And then, of course, we got lucky and got on Who's Line in 89. And so in 1990, her and I went to London together, and we'd been there maybe a week. And I turned to her in a taxi and I said, could you move here? And she went, without even breathing, yes.
Nice.
And then to show you what kind of, like you were saying, it works with you and your wife. My wife and I were in Australia in 2011, and we did, I think, 6 or 7 weeks, one end of the country to the other. We did New Zealand, all these long flights. And then flying back was a 24-hour affair. We had to go from Melbourne to And I remember saying to her, we had to get up we got up at 3 a.m. to catch the first plane out of Auckland City, I think, to go to Melbourne. And I think we ordered room service. We were staying at a casino, so they had like 24-hour room service.
Okay.
We got peanut butter sandwiches and coffee or something,
Beautiful.
it's 3:30, so no one, you know how you feel at 3:30. You're just like,
Right. I was doing this at 3:30 this morning. I know
right.
exactly
That's
how
how
I
you
feel.
So I said to her, could you stay for another 6 weeks? And she went, hell yeah.
Nice.
But she's really the stuff, like
That's great.
so when I'm not on the road with the guys, now I'm on the road mostly with Who's Line guys.
Right.
We go on the road together, her and I. So because our biggest expense or luxury or whatever you want to call it is traveling.
Yeah.
Even though I travel all the time, when her and I get a chance, we try to go places. So
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why we're people that could do this job, because we love the traveling.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we get a break from the traveling, it does nothing better than go do some traveling.
right. So a lot of people do. A lot of people really, excuse me, I'm going to close this for a second. A lot of people really hate it, Damn, they can't understand. Yes, I'm in a Star Trek episode here, as you can see.
Yeah.
They can't understand why you would want to be gone all the time. And also, of course,
like the driving. An 8-hour drive across the desert in my car with my music playing. I'm in heaven.
Yeah. In Hollywood, there's this whole thing of like, if you leave for 5 minutes, show business is going to end or something.
Right.
So people in LA will always say, well, when are you coming back? Like it's the end of the world or whatever.
Right.
And of course, it took me a million years to realize that it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I was working with a comedian years ago in London, an American named The Amazing Jonathan, God rest his soul. And he passed away too. We won't even start on that because it's too depressing. But anyway, Amazing Jonathan passed, or as we called him in San Francisco for years, the annoying Jonathan, which was fantastic. And because of course we're friends.
Yes.
And him and I were doing a TV show in London. And I said, where you come from? And he went, Australia. And I said, I just came from Canada or something. And I'm going to swear again. He turned to me, Keith, and he went, fuck the States, man. And I knew what he meant. Like, at the time he'd married an Australian girl. He was touring Australia constantly. And it's like back home, he couldn't get arrested on TV. You know what I mean? No one was going to hire Jonathan. Yeah. But he was a very funny, broad comedian.
There's something about finding that place where you fit best, where, and like Arch Barker. I mean, he's appreciated here in America, but man, they love him over there.
In New Zealand and Australia, he's huge.
Yeah. So, but let me ask you about Nightmare Before Christmas. Starting with the movie before we get to the live, because I know you are thrilled about the live, and I can't imagine how awesome that must be for a music lover. But how did it come about that you did the voice in there? Was it a pretty standard call for an audition, or?
Strangely, yes. It was 1991, 2, somewhere in there. And we had our 30th anniversary last year, so that's 93 is when it came out. So 92 then. Okay. It took a long time to make. It took a really long time to make because it's a stop action. And another thing that people don't do anymore hardly. Every once in a while, someone does stop action. Now
I know a woman that worked on that film who just finished. Kat Alyoshin.
Oh, okay.
And she just finished working on a great one. I think it was called The Inventor, about Leonardo da Vinci. So if you like stop motion, The Inventor was phenomenal.
Oh, I'd love to see that. And I'm a huge Da Vinci person.
There you go.
I dragged my wife the year before last to this Da Vinci show in Paris. The Louvre had a Da Vinci show, and it was so bad. I mean, I read like loads of books about Da Vinci and Michelangelo. I'm obsessed with the Renaissance anyway, or the Renaissance, if you will. And it didn't have any great paintings. It had a couple of the fake ones that, like sheikhs have bought that they think are Da Vinci, attributed. And everything was really dark because they didn't want to ruin anything, the material, and there was notebooks and this, that, and not really some of the codices, pieces of the codices, because Da Vinci's notebooks were chopped up and divided, and some are in France and some are in England, and I think some people own them privately and whatnot.
Yeah.
And of course, he was an inveterate note taker, and he wrote his notes backwards and whatnot. And he didn't speak. This is what I love about Da Vinci, and this is just to give all your listeners hope. He was terrible at Latin. He spoke Italian, but everyone in those days that was a scientist or that dealt with that spoke Latin, and certainly the church, and all your patrons, because your patrons are going to be rich lords and dukes and terrible people like he worked for, because he worked for, what's his name, Cesare Borgia, and him were certainly, there's no record of them talking, but Niccolo Machiavelli was a politician working for the Pope, and the Pope was Cesare's dad. And Cesare is the person who Machiavelli wrote The Prince about. In other words, the end justifies the means, all the things that we talk about now when we talk about real politic, that word that you see sometimes, RALPOLITIK, meaning if you don't do what I want, I will kill you. There is no other, what we tend to call now the zero-sum game. So these are the people that he worked for. Everybody thinks, the Renaissance was like people danced around and there was goats and shit.
Gentlemen.
It was really bloodthirsty, horrible patrons. That's who Michelangelo and by the way,
who could appreciate a good painting.
Right. Leonardo and Michelangelo hated each other, and which is fantastic. But anyway, so we go to this Leonardo show, just to finish this thought, and it's crowded and it's horrible. And I dragged her there, and I love Leonardo, and Jennifer's like this through the whole thing. Jesus Christ. We get to the end, and there's a Scottish couple there, and I play a lot in Scotland, where I have over the years, and they go, "Oh, Craig, I saw you in Edinburgh a couple of years ago. It's fucking magic. It's a great show, yeah. Hi, what you do, and what did you think of the show?" And I said, well, I go, "What did you think of this Da Vinci show?" And the Scottish guy goes, "So, to be honest, a bit pushy shovey."
A bit pushy shovey?
A bit pushy shovey, meaning everyone was, you couldn't look at anything because there was too many people.
Right.
It's a bit pushy shovey. And I thought that's just so Scottish. He didn't say like, "Oh my God, I was in awe of the major grandeur of the work," or "His genius resonates through the centuries," or anything like that. He just went, "About pushy shovey." So I got a call from my agent, and she said they're making a picture, and it's an animated picture, and Danny Elfman did the score, and Danny wasn't as famous. He was famous, but he wasn't like Danny Elfman famous.
Were you an Oingo Boingo fan at that point?
No, but I knew them.
Okay.
And
I was a huge Oingo. That was my first live concert.
Oh, really? See, they were really, he was a good singer, and they were a really, as you saw them, they were a pretty lively live act. I mean, they were big. There was a lot of them. There was how many people in the band? Like 8,
as long
10
as
guys.
we keep asking for encores, they'd keep doing encores. It wasn't like today where when the house lights go on, it means stop asking, we're done.
No.
It's like, no, we're not leaving. And then he comes out and he says, "We're running out of songs."
Yeah. And they had a bunch of Latin guys in their band. And I remember doing a morning show in San Francisco with all of them and not Danny. But then Danny told me a few years ago when we were working, he said the band used to go out and party after the show. And he goes, "I had to go back to my room and sit in the shower with the steam on." He goes, "Because the register that I was singing in was so bloody high." He goes, "I really wanted to go out and drink and do it, drugs and hang out with the guys." He goes, "I couldn't." He goes, I would lose my voice if I did. So he did not go out and party. So anyway, they call me. They gave me a cassette, and and I went home and I put it in my boom box, and it was the first song. This is Halloween, and I was given a mimeographed lyric sheet that had all the lyrics. So I learned the song by playing it over and over in my room, and I had all the words, and I thought of different monster voices for every single line, right? Like I came up with all these different lines.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So when it came time to audition, I was going to do, and this will really, your people who are listening are going to be like, how old are you, Greg? You're talking about Da Vinci like you knew him. I had to go do the MTV half-hour comedy hour.
Nice.
And down in Los Angeles. And so I had to fly down to do it. And it was a 1 o'clock flight or something, 2 o'clock. In those days, you didn't care. You got to the plane right before it took off. There was no security or anything like that.
Right. You could run
No.
in an airport.
You literally could walk right to the plane.
Yeah.
And so I said, can I go first? And I said to my agent, will you ask if I can go first? Like, I want to be the first person in. But that it started at noon or whatever, or 11.
Right.
So yes, you are, Greg. Normally they make you come in and you wait. But I said, I need to go first because so I came in, and Danny and Denise Denovi were sitting there. And Denise Denovi was a producer on the movie. And I said, I'd like to start by being obsequious and sycophantic, if I may. And they said, go on. And I went, I found that your music was reminiscent of Harold Arlen. And Danny goes, who's Harold Arlen? And Denise goes, he wrote The Wizard of Oz. And
nice.
Danny goes, oh, I understand what you're saying. I don't know all their names, but I'm certainly influenced by all the 30s songwriters. And I thought that was really funny. Of course, now he knows who Harold Arlen is.
Right.
But because Harold Arlen wrote, and his partner Yip Harburg, who wrote The Wizard of Oz, or the guy that teamed him with, I think wrote the greatest children's musical of all time, because Ding Dong the Witch is Dead is like, you just don't get anything better than that. Or Somewhere Over the Rainbow with Happy Little Bluebirds Fly. And Yip Harburg, fantastically, who wrote the lyrics, was a screaming liberal. And we were talking about nice white people. Yip Harburg wrote a musical for Black people in the 30s and the 40s. He didn't stay in Hollywood and try to be a big fancy. He tried to do all these things that included Black people in them. He was very much involved with racial justice. And it didn't really help his career very much. He also said that he wrote a bunch of the dialogue for the movie that he never got credit for, like some of the jokes in the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I believe, because, it's a collaboration, and you know how things are. You say a line and all of a sudden it's in the thing and nobody ever. So I sang the song for them and they were like, thank you. And then I split, and then they called me back and go, you got it. So we recorded in LA and San Francisco, Berkeley. And Debbie Durst, who's Will Durst's husband.
Yeah.
Will Durst, the comedian. And then, excuse me, Debbie is also a comedian. And my best friend.
There's a lot of improv like yourself, right?
Right. She's an improviser. And she was my best friend. She got on the movie. And she's the, there goes Christmas. She's the dead baby.
I didn't know
the
that
dead
that
baby.
was Debbie Durst.
Yeah. She is the dead baby.
Wow.
And she's the dead baby mom. That's our job, but we're not being in this town of Halloween. And then the other cat from San Francisco was a blues singer named Glenn Walter, who I think is still around. And he was in a group called the Hoodoo Rhythm Devils. And Glenn had a whiskey, what they call whiskey soaked.
Yeah.
Glenn talked like this.
Right.
So when Glenn was saying, Glenn was like, so he was the werewolf. And he could sing in two tones at the same time.
Wow.
That weird dionic thing, whatever they call it. And so we would go and do these gigs and record and shit. And I shouldn't tell this, but I'm gonna anyway. No one cares now, I don't think. At lunch one day in Los Angeles, we went outside for a break. And Glenn pulled a pipe out of his pocket. And I'll never forget what he was wearing. He was wearing like a Levi's, like sort of overalls romper and like a Big Apple newsboy cap. And like I said, Glenn talk like this, you know,
Right.
You guys, this fucking, you want to get high. And so we smoked a bunch of weed at lunch. And we go back in and I'm fucking high now. And they go, now we're all there. And all the other singers in the show, by the way, were sight readers. They read music and they could sight read music. So their jobs was commercials, jingles. At the Oscars, there's a group of people that sing underneath the stage or backstage on microphones that do the vocals. That was the kind of shit these people were doing because they just hand them the music and they, you know, they can sing and on key, on time. You know, they're geniuses. They've trained. And Debbie and me are comedians. So I can't read music. I don't know a treble clef from a note. And Glenn was a bar singer.
Yeah.
But our voices. So we get back in and I'm fucking stoned. And Danny goes, Greg, you're first up. And I'm like, so I go in the studio and I get in front of the mic and I got my cans on, right? And I'm just going, won't they be impressed? I am. And I do it and cut. Try it again, Greg. And I do it again and cut, Greg. Finally, Danny goes, Greg, why are you're so flat? You're singing so flat. What's going on? And I was like, I must have done 10 takes of that one.
Oh
and
my
then,
God.
I was blathering with someone and Danny walked over to me and he goes, Greg. And I went, Danny, not now. I'm with people. And he fucking, and I went, I'm joking. Of course I'm joking. Danny, I'm joking. Danny, joking, Danny. So we worked on the picture for years. Then I didn't see him till, you know, then he goes on and does every Tim Burton movie, you know, every superhero movie, Thor, this, that.
Simpsons.
Oh, I should get off you. It's been an hour. I should let you move. Anyway, 10 years ago, his manager calls me, Laura, and goes, we're doing it live. Or my agent calls me and goes, will you sing these 2 songs as an audition for Nightmare Before Christmas? And I go, I'm in Nightmare Before Christmas. And they go, I know, but they want to hear if you can still sing.
Make sure you can still do it.
The songs. So I was at the Kabuki Hotel in San Francisco and I said to my wife, this is going to be the worst hour of your life. I go, I'm going in the loo. I went into the bathroom because the bathroom's got good acoustics.
Right.
And I fucking sang these songs at the top of my voice for an hour, right? Over and over.
Nice.
And then they call me and says, I was in Toronto and they go, you want to come do the show? And I called them back and said, yes. So we've been doing it live and we've done it in Japan. This year we're doing it at London at Wembley Arena. We've done it in London, Brooklyn, Japan, Los Angeles, the Hollywood Bowl, Tokyo, Dublin, Glasgow. The conductor's named John Mauceri. John Mauceri was Leonard Bernstein's protege. You can look up John Mauceri. Oh, wow. And Bernstein, you know, mentored him. And in those days, John's got long hair because it's the 70s, you know, and he's a conductor. And John speaks like this, Keith. And when he tells stories about Leonard Bernstein, he calls him Lenny.
Nice.
So he goes, the wonderful thing about Lenny was he had such a marvelous sense of humor. And he was 8 years the conductor of the Scottish National Opera.
Oh, wow.
So John Mauceri, who, as I say, is a very dignified, he has white hair, and he wears a tuxedo when we do the show, and speaks like this, does the most hilarious Glaswegian accent. Do your show, I thought, det är nog, jag kunde ha korrekt begrip som på de utlånade, like, like he really, so 2 quick stories and then I'll let you live your life.
Okay.
We're in, the first time we're rehearsing, we're all in a studio in Warner Brothers, and it's a great big studio. This is the story when I said to Danny, aren't you nervous? There's all the whole orchestra's there, 1 million people. And I'm with the singers, and singers are like worse than dancers. They're, like comedians are this juvenile, right? And self-interested. Then there's singers who are even less mature, but not as self-interested. And then there's dancers who are, like cats or dogs or whatever. You can train them, and, or this is the scale of show business. There's rock musician, actor, like we're all children. We're children,
Yeah.
And, you tell a comedian they're funny and they're like, really? Like a 3-year-old,
More
And
please.
so me and the singers are sitting there and they're blathering. And I mean, there's a whole orchestra, the fucking place we're rehearsing. And then, and John Archerry turns and goes like this. That's it. He didn't say anything. Just, and I said to them, no one snapped their finger at me since I was 8 years old. You know what I mean? But I mean, you should have seen us fucking shake down like we.
Right.
And so now, last story I'll tell. We're in Tokyo, and we're rehearsing, and we're at the dress rehearsal, and we're in this beautiful exhibition hall in Tokyo. And I mean, a concert hall, and the Japanese crowd wears suits to the show, and they sit quietly. They don't laugh or cheer or anything, and then they go nuts. They're really weird. And as George Harrison said, well, I like going for the Japanese crowd because they listen, you see. He said, drunk, like the American crowd's drunk. He goes, he said the Beatles love playing Japan because the Japanese crowd would sit, listen, and then go banana. So, we're in the middle of rehearsal. We're at the finale. We're literally 2 lines from the end of the show. And at the end of the show, we all have to stand up and go, la, 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 la. And it's Tokyo. And this was May 2019. All of a sudden, whole place starts shaking. And it's like a 5.6. Really, you could feel it. And immediately up at the instruments, right? All I can think of is that, like the Phantom of the Opera, a lighting instrument is going to fall on my head. And, I'm going to be like Lon Chaney in the movie, and Michael Crawford, I'm going to have a light instrument stuck in my head, and, and then I have to pull my mask off and see that I'm horrible. And, the interpreter, Elizabeth, has to sit behind John. And so John would go, to the orchestra, diminuendo, pizzicato, whatever fucking classical terms they're using. And Elizabeth would say in Japanese, da, 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 da. So she sat literally behind him with a microphone like this because he didn't speak Japanese. And so the place starts shaking, and we're all from California, right? All the singers, and we all look at each other. Right. We're not freaked, but we're like, okay, there's a big earthquake. Right. And Elizabeth, the interpreter, leans forward like this to us and goes,
what was it?
Earthquake. And we're like, yeah. So
thank God she was there.
The place shakes like the devil. John never stops conducting, right? It's good. Right? That's how I'm going. We jump up to finish the show because we're at the last beat. La la la, and it's the worst. We're not even nothing. We finish, and I walk up to John and I go, Maestro, did you feel the earthquake? And he goes, what earthquake?
Wow. Oh man.
And because it's Japan and they're so polite and everything is, they just they're not forthcoming. No one said anything to us. No fire inspector said anything. No stage manager said anything. No one came up and went, you guys, it's okay. In LA, there'd be like a fire marshal there and go, we're not doing the show, or we are doing the show, or whatever. Like Japan, they just did. An hour and a half, maybe 2 hours later, we were up doing the show.
An hour and a half, 2 hours later, you were what?
As we say in our show, downbeat. The curtain
Yeah.
rose at 8:00. Downbeat at 8.
Wow.
So we did the show, and like we were talking backstage, and no one said anything to us. The next night, there's a sign, and it says, "Don't talk; they can hear you." And I was like, "Why didn't someone come up to us and say shut up?" The stage manager could have come over and gone shh.
Right.
But Japan, so no one said anything. And so we all have our tissues because we're singers. Before the show,
Yeah.
no garbage cans. It's Japan. There's no garbage cans. There is no garbage. So we've taken all our wadded up tissues and thrown them on the table that's next to the stage where our water is.
Right.
The next night, there's a plastic bag taped to the table. Because in every theater in America, there's a garbage can, as you know, next to
Right.
the stage, right before you go on. So you can go and then throw it, or your cup, whatever. Everything goes in. Sometimes there's a mirror and a garbage can right next to the stage.
Which is, that's what you need.
It's imperative. And in Japan,
Zippers up, clear my throat.
Yeah,
Let's do
exactly.
a show.
Exactly. So anyway, I blathered long enough, but thank you for asking me.
You're always very generous with your stories, and I appreciate it so much. And thanks for taking time. And we may cut parts of this up and do stuff with it. I'll share that with you if we do. But thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate and I asked you last minute, your willingness and enthusiasm to jump in and help is always delightful.
Well, before I go, let me just say this to your people. Keith has shown me nothing but love and kindness. And the reason we got to play that gig in in Sacramento at the Sophia was Keith's doing. Keith organized it. And I really appreciate it. And I appreciate how kind you are and how generous. And I think this is a wonderful cause. And I was really, really happy to be asked, to be honest. And don't forget to buy Keith's books as well. They're very funny. And I did blurbs for them because the stories are incredible. So that's my take. And thank you for asking me for doing this.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Bye, Doc.
All right. So that was my interview with Greg Proops. That is clear. Where are we at?
Well, thank you for asking. Let me get in here with you.
All right.
That was so fun and entertaining to listen to you guys. You guys are clearly buddies, and that was fun. Where did my thing go here? Hold on. It is.
I'm trying to unmute you, but it's not letting me. Oh, because you chose to mute yourself.
Got it. Okay, here it is. Hello. Okay. Oh, there we go. So I really enjoyed listening to you guys just banter. Had you guys actually met in the past and done comedy?
We worked together a bunch of times now, yeah.
That's amazing. And what did he do on The Nightmare Before Christmas? I kind of missed that last bit.
I think his character was called the Harlequin Devil.
Oh boy, I'm gonna have to watch it again now.
Yeah.
What a cool guy though. Yeah. He had a lot of really nice things to say and all kinds of stories about his experiences.
And this is someone who I look up to and I respect. And so when I had a week featuring for him, it was so exciting for me. And then at the end of it, he pulls me aside and he tells me, Keith, you should write a book. He said, not every comedian could write a book. You could write a book. You've got words.
Wow.
It was very sweet of him. And he took it very seriously. He was like, can I have a second of your time? So give me this, an older comedian giving me he's not that much older than me, but he's a little bit older than me, giving me some advice. And so then when I wrote my second book, I asked him if he would write the introduction to it, and he wrote me a beautiful foreword.
So people don't realize what those small investments of saying, you've got something, and I hope you'll do this. People take those words and they internalize them, and they, sort of take, maybe it takes a while to grow, but it did grow, and you did write a book, and he wrote the foreword. That's amazing.
And especially with writing, because writing is so different than stand-up. I can go find someone to laugh at my stand-up.
Yeah.
If I bomb, I'll go grab another gig and kill.
Yeah.
Writing, you just get rejection. Every
Yeah.
writer I know, they take pride in their stack of rejection
Oh,
letters,
well,
and I just couldn't do that. But to go into it with some kind words from a few people, including Greg Groups, it
yeah.
helped.
I mean, I literally just posted something about how if you really want to be great at something, you have to be willing to suck at it first, right?
I tell my students that all the time.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yes.
I tell them, paint a bad painting.
Yeah.
Because no one ever sits down and paints a masterpiece. You
Yep.
know? So start getting those bad paintings out of your way so you
Yep.
can get to your masterpiece.
Perfection is the enemy of great,
That's
or,
why
or
I'm
even good.
I'm trying to write as many horrible books as I can.
Love that.
Just
I love that.
because the masterpiece is in there. It's waiting to come
Yeah.
out.
Well, Molly is going to be logging in at like 2:30.
Okay.
And so I have lots of vegetables and fruit, and I have nuts at my house. And so I'm just wondering if you know anybody who might be hungry for more food that is also vegan and doesn't want to eat. Anyways, are you hungry?
You met me.
Yeah, I meant you. I'm a little tired.
For a civilian, as us comedians would call you, you've got a wonderful straight face.
Thank
'Cause
you.
they're going like, is she asking me to invite people over? And what is she?
No, I did clean my house, so it would be. There's nothing
Okay.
more motivating for me to clean my house. No.
Everybody, party at Sarah's
No.
house.
No,
I'm going to put the address in the comments.
no.
Hey, it looks like your power is probably back on, because there's only
Oh, perfect.
like 5 people out in the whole Sacramento.
Oh, our luck
Well,
was-
Murphy's Law is that it's us,
But
but we could, yeah.
I've never been more graciously kicked out somewhere. Hey, I'm guessing your power's on.
Yeah, thank
if
you.
You know what I mean.
But really, thank you so much. It was so cool because our power went out right when we were about to go live with Good Day Sacramento. And Eloise happened to walk in right after that. She's like, hey, I've got power. Come on over.
Power,
So
Wi-Fi,
we just
all that fun stuff.
switched modes.
Eloise got a new job title. Her
Yeah.
job title is now Day Saver.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah. Queen of pivoting. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, would you like to continue our live stream in the car?
Yes.
Okay.
Give me a minute to adjust it over onto my phone.
And it looks like our Facebook stream is interrupted right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see Facebook as active and YouTube is interrupted.
Okay. Yeah. I
No,
have an
no, it does say Facebook.
yeah, I have a little exclamation point next to
So it did this once
Facebook.
before.
So should we